If Israel is attacked by Iranian missiles from Iran, Syria, or Hezbollah, what should the United States do? It's your turn, Congresswoman.
Well, as the President said, all options are on the table. If you're suggesting that, if the question suggests that there was an attack on the state of Israel, then clearly we would have to consider the use of military force. Israel would be forced to respond. There would be an enormous conflagration. My hope is, and that of course is the intention of crippling sanctions, which now have eroded the capacity of Iran to be able to move forward with its nuclear program, that we are going to get to the point that Iran will not be able to function as a country, that the dissidents will be in fact empowered because of that, and that we won't get to the point. That, of course, is the idea of the way we're moving forward. We want to try diplomacy. We want to isolate Iran. I think my opponent once called it quarantine Iran, separate it from the rest of the world. That is certainly the first option, the better option. And the last option, of course, if Iran were to attack, then we have to look at the use of military force, and my guess is that it would be a Middle Eastern war that got started. It would be a horrible situation, but the United States, I believe, would be forced to engage.
When we look at the history of this kind of war in the Middle East, it's generally the case that Israel has been able to defend itself in a conventional war. Now, missiles from Iran cannot be assumed to be conventional in nature, and Israel would, of course, have to strike targets in Iran, and the United States should indicate before this happens that Israel will have our full support. But in the history of conventional wars like the Second Lebanon War, we've seen that the limiting factor isn't actually Israel's operational capacity to locate and target missile sites and to take them out, or to bring ground troops to bear upon Hezbollah hideouts, or even to roll almost all the way to Damascus, as Israel did in the Yom Kippur War of 1973. The limiting factor is political and diplomatic in the UN Security Council. And usually the United States has played the role of stalling for time while first the Soviet Union and China press for a ceasefire resolution. Now, unfortunately, and this is something I believe one can criticize both the Bush and Obama administrations for, the United States in the past two conflicts has been too eager to bring about ceasefire resolutions that are anything but. The resolution 1707 that ended the conflict in southern Lebanon in 2006 did not bring about effective monitoring of missiles, so we know that Syria is already smuggling Scuds and other types of hardware into Lebanon and replenishing Hezbollah's stock. And then Resolution 1856, I believe it was, at the end of the Gaza war, basically equated Israel and Hamas as combatants when Hamas had clearly been targeting Israel for many years, attacking Israeli civilians. And I think in both cases, and today, the Obama administration and the Bush administration have been too weak in their responses to this kind of warfare, and they have allowed the ceasefires to enter before Israel has achieved the decisive victory it must reach in order to protect its civilians. We need to give the Israelis time, support, and the diplomatic pressure that is needed to achieve the result that achieves a lasting peace.